In regarding to the what Miss Jenny just said about the well and making sure it's tied to the seismic correctly, how should we approach this? Like I have studied about the well tie using the sonic, but we have the check shots and we only inputted the check shots into our wells and have run it, so it calculated the one-way tie, and that's it. Is there anything else that should we do? Because Ms. Jenny implied that there is more to it.
I mean, I'll make a quick, or do you want to go? You go.
So, I mean, it's ideal if you have all the logs. So if you have sonic and density, you can actually do a well tie. But if you don't, so you start with those check shots. That's your best first tie. And then you think. So you're looking at the geology and you're tying it to the wells and you're seeing, if I see a sand in there, is it tying to something there, or like an amplitude or something, or am I seeing a response that makes sense to me? Is the seafloor tying, the time depth tying at the seafloor, is maybe there an issue with the velocity to where the seafloor is? Whether I need to just do a subtle adjustment, it's going to get you close. So that's what you have to start with. And then if you had more data, you would do an advanced, you do a well tie with the sonic and density. But you start with what you have with the best data that you can. So to me, the check shots is your best first thing, and then look at the geology and the seismic response. So what does seismic respond to? It responds to changes in velocity and density in your rocks. How does the seismic look when I see what I think is, you know, a nice package of sand or limestone or whatever? Is it look like it making sense? So, and again, when we do those well ties to the seismic, make sure that the well is in the right location. And I don't always look at the exact line, but I actually look at some lines on either side to see whether the imaging is better, or change the orientation of the line through the well. Might give you a better visibility of the section that you're looking at. So don't always trust it. I'm just always going to look at it in line, and that's going to be the answer. Let's look at the data around it in different orientations. Some of the software, and I think Petrel does, has a way where you can actually do like a full rotation around the well point. So you can just look at your seismic and just rotate through the 3D volume around the well and sort of look at how it looks relative to the data. So just spend some time looking at it.
Integrating the petrophysical analysis with our seismic. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the key, I'm going to say, it's back to a variation of what Ms. Jenny's saying. It's fit for purpose. And again, you know, people sometimes say, I haven't got a synthetic seismogram. I haven't done a well tie. Well, a time depth function is a well tie of sorts. Now, you haven't gone wiggle by wiggle. So that is the 80% solution, sometimes the 90% solution. But like in your case, where you got 1,000 feet of sand and you got no signal in there, you don't want to spend your time doing wavelet extraction in there and stretch and squeeze. It's like, man, move on. You're not going to figure things out in that place, at least as you stand right now. So again, also pick a well where maybe you got some tops, you got a good check shot, and you've got some horizons. You know, that's the first place to try and do some of your synthetic ties. But again, fit for purpose. You know, that's why you look at the data. If you don't think it's going to answer a question, like I say, doing a detailed synthetic seismogram in your 1,000-foot sand with no data, that's a waste of time, honestly. Move on to something else, and then maybe work back towards that. It's like, start with the basics. And I forget if we gave you the check shot specifically for this well, just start with the check shots and the lithology, say, or a good log, and just step back, zoom out. Once you get to this zoomed in level, honestly, every wavelet can look like every wavelet. It's like you're losing the forest from the trees. And this is over sciencing it because you're in bad data. If this was, you know, the Permian Basin where I've got, you know, continuous reflections, maybe. So that's my general comment. I don't know if maybe Miss Jenny wants to add anything to this aspect.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And also the seismic, seismic quality at the area of your well tie is not the best. I don't know if you've looked at a few lines in the vicinity to see if you get a better sort of idea. Sometimes when you're tying the wells, you're just trying to tie into to packages within the data that gets you close. And if you have the check shots, that helps you. It does look like there's some issues with data quality in the well vicinity. So it makes it more difficult to get a really good high correlation.
And they are close to the volcano here, so there's a very good reason the data is bad. But sometimes what I'll do is, I'll just take that time depth shot and maybe a log curve, and I'll move it away from the really complex zone. Just kind of move it around. That may be on an overlay, a JPEG overlay, drag it around. But again, you got to get the big picture before you worry about whether the phase is 38 degrees or 43 degrees. I mean, these are just way too detailed things to be thinking about till you're confident with the low frequency fit. And I'm not sure you're quite there yet. You may be close. When you zoomed out, it looked like you may be close, but that's what I would say. Focus on that first.
Alan, few comments. And first question, I see 3 panels with the seismic. The middle panel is basically synthetic as a wiggle and as a variable density. What's the third panel?
Which, this one?
Yeah.
I think this is just the trace.
Pardon me?
This particular trace for the, yes, that's what I think. Let me zoom out.
I think it's the wiggle for the real seismic. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Am I looking at the right thing? What's the seismic? What's the synthetic?
This is the seismic and this is the synthetic.
Well, how about the next panel?
I don't think I quite know what this is.
That looks like just the wiggle.
Is it seismic and synthetic?
No, it looks like the wiggle of the actual seismic because it's overlaying the.
This is the seismic.
Okay.
Well, make sure, because in the third panel, the tie is not too bad, okay? And I like the display in the middle, of course, and the display in the right, but left display, you need to make sure that the gain on your seismic and synthetic are comparable, because the gain on seismic is very small, the gain on the synthetic is way, way too high, and it's very difficult to compare. Then just general comment. Remember that you need to start your synthetic from the top and go deeper and deeper. Second comment, make sure that the events in the synthetic are not bogus events. For example, casing points or big washouts, check it. Seismic, you are in difficult zone. Looks like some of the areas are not imaged very, very well. So you have to take this into consideration. And then in terms of the diagnostics, cross-correlation is a useful diagnostics, but couple this with velocity diagnostics. Display the velocity function before the tie. It has to be physical, yeah? So if it's a quiet area, the velocity should be increasing monotonously. And the display after the tie, if you see a big departure from the velocity, means that something is wrong. So you're on good track, but keep on improving this tie, okay? And remember, sometimes you hit the wall, your seismic is not there, like in deeper zone, so do your best with the velocity. And the time is going to be only approximate. Thank you.
Okay.